we're gonna go back to Soren. And you'll see this throughout the story quite a bit. It flip-flops between Soren and Rush. This is pretty much how I plan to develop the entire series, as their two opposing stories intertwine.
Okay. I wonder how you're going to do that in a chapter by chapter basis, because when I think about this, I'm assuming there's going to be a couple of events that both characters are involved in that are big events, but of course they're on opposing sides, and figuring out which one should get more screen time, or I said more pages, I should say, you know what I'm saying, within the arc is going to be interesting to see how you're going to choose who gets more pages or not. Yeah, because of course, after seeing the Doomsday, I guess arc, the mini arc is basically done. After seeing that, I would say I probably would have brought in Rush a little bit earlier, but in my opinion, but I don't know, I think you get better with it over time on when to flip characters, like when to focus on Soren, when to focus on Rush. So we'll see how you do that in the future arcs, future events, you know. But I hope that not every event both characters are involved in. I hope there's like, there might be two different things going on at the same time, and they both are on two separate types of they have their own personal arcs, I should say, that they have to deal with, including the arcs where they both are in the same type of conflict.
The government has seized the area, and they want all that power for themselves. They want it for research purposes, and they want to turn it into weapons.
Yo, don't tell me it's about to be demons versus angels versus humans. I'm assuming that there's gonna be humans that are gonna be choosing between the angel or the demon side, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe they have their own fraction, their own side. I don't know.
Soren says that he walks past that dome every day on the way to school. The army
There's still school, Soren? Come on now. Your objective is to save the world. What degree? What diploma is gonna help you with that? Come on, man.
Signature blade of the Archangel Michael, the celestial beacon of light, Eternus. This sword is extremely mysterious. We don't know much about it yet. We just know that it is the weapon of the most powerful Archangel. The sword thuds and lands on the ground, taking Oz completely by surprise, and now he's sweating. Imperium begins to leak from the sword, and Oz is struggling. The sword became extremely heavy all of a sudden, and as Oz says, this sword requires an unimaginable amount of Imperium to wield, and it's draining him. And then the sword reverts back to a feather. Oz completely out of breath and stamina. Even the Master Oz, the leader of the Holy Knights,
Okay, so they're hyping up the sword, which means, yeah, like in the next big arc is probably when Soren is gonna be able to start using the sword, and that's when it's kind of like a power system, right? Like a power scaling. Like you could tell how strong Soren is based on how well he could wield the sword, how long he could wield it for, you know, so on and so forth. I feel like that's what Mastar is leading towards, based on his capabilities with the sword, is showcase how far he gone through his journey, how strong he is in that current moment. At least that's what I'm thinking.
That's when Oz comes to the realization that the feather has been draining Soren this entire time. And now that Soren isn't holding it anymore, he says, "Master Oz, I'm feeling much better now," as his body begins to explode with Imperium. So this is why Soren can't master a spell. The feather is actually holding him back for some reason. Eternus is undernourished. It's accustomed to Michael, an archangel with a near infinite reserve of Imperium. For this boy to even hold it, it's the highest tier of Imperium armament or angelic armament. It requires an unfathomable amount of Imperium to wield, and it's crazy that Soren was even able to hold it in the first place. You would think...
Damn. Okay, damn. What a way to showcase he's gonna be broken and overpowered.
His fist connects with the tree and it explodes. Soren has finally mastered Imperium. He's able to use it as long as...
Okay, mastering is crazy. I guess maybe mastering Imperium is not a big deal. It's just about the techniques, I'm assuming, right? Maybe mastering Imperium is like the first step, and then the harder steps but what does it even mean to master it? Is it, well, yeah, being able to control it, but how do you get more Imperium over time? Or maybe he did say that already, I think, right? But I'm assuming it's all about the techniques now, costing more Imperium. So it's like controlling the amount of Imperium you use within a battle. I'm assuming that's what's gonna determine his power scaling.
The blade is taxing you heavily, but your Imperium has been strengthening to accommodate it. It's similar to weighted training, and you must learn to be comfortable with the feather on you at all times. Michael entrusted you with this weapon for a reason. He gives the feather back to Soren, and Soren acknowledges that the feather feels lighter now, so it doesn't appear to be maybe draining him as much.
I like that training concept. Keep the feather beside you, let it drain you, so that your Imperium, I guess your body get used to. It's, you know what I'm saying, it's permanent training. It's like permanent deletion of Imperium, and then it gets stronger over time. I like that concept. Interesting. Getting more and more knowledge about the power scaling.
And that's it for chapter 10. The training arc has begun. Soren has finally learned how to master Imperium, and we learned a few things about Eternus and the feather, Oz, and the government. But where is Rush going? Karner sent him on a mission to find out about some rumor.
So we're going back to Rush next chapter, almost an episode. Interesting episode, I'll say that. Okay, that's the end of chapter 10. It was a pretty short chapter for the most part, or at least it felt short. It really just Mastar media explaining the power scaling for Soren and how we could tell when he's getting stronger or not. What's gonna be his measurement, how, or I should say indicators that showcase that. I like the concept though of how based on his abilities or how long he could wield the feather, I should say, while also using Imperium for other techniques. I think that's a great way to show how strong he becomes throughout the series, or throughout the chapters and manga, I should say. I wonder what Rush's power scaling is gonna look like. I guess we already have a glimpse of that, because he just stated that demons, they get their powers from killing. I forgot what it was called, what that dust thing that Rush consumes like crack was called. but that's how he's gonna get stronger. But so it seems like Rush is gonna go on a killing spree while Soren is gonna be here like meditating, trying to get more Imperium. So it's like one through peace and one through violence. But I'm curious to know how the power scaling is gonna look like further down the line in the chapters, or we should like chapter 50 or 100, I should say. Like that's when things usually get tricky, is when we get way down the line in the storyline, and it's like you're trying to figure out how to balance the progression of the power scaling while also trying to make the characters or the opponents a little bit stronger. That becomes tricky later on. That's usually the main issue with most mangas or animes and stuff like that, is never really the beginning part that's hard for power scaling. It's usually as the series continues and people and opponents get stronger. Now I hope Mastar, or I should say the Mastar, because he probably is watching the videos, I think you should also remember that power scaling, the amount of Imperium or amount of crack that Rush consumes, shouldn't be the only determining factor of a fight. I think nowadays it's evident that people appreciate strategies, and it's not just because a person is stronger, but sometimes they just outsmart the person. They just use better techniques, utilize their environments better, and just using other fighting, I guess, awareness or knowledge to win a fight, other than just their natural or innate ability that clearly shows that they're stronger, especially for fights when individuals are very evenly matched or very close in relative strength. I would like to see some techniques, of course. Well, I shouldn't say techniques. I like to see some strategies, some use of environment or situation, or like some type of plan that they execute to gain the advantage of a fight. Because I think that will really help a lot with this story. This will like separate this story from a lot of other fights in other types of shows. And I know that a lot of your audience expects you to just focus on the power scaling and not much on strategy alone, because of they know that your audience is probably based mainly from One Punch Man and Dragon Ball, and like they don't really focus too much on like winning battles based on outsmarting your opponent. So yeah, I think you should try that for sure. And I think that's it. Like overall, this is a pretty solid chapter. There's nothing really much else to say, to be honest. Chapter 11 probably is gonna be out by the time I upload this video, so it looks like Mastar is gonna go back to Rush in that chapter. So let's see how he goes back and forth between Soren and Rush. And yeah, let's have a discussion in the comments down below about this chapter, about Demon Rush so far. And yeah, thanks for watching.